All right. What's going on out there, traders? Another one here from the Dark Side team. And on this video in particular, I want to touch a bit on the news. A lot of people talk about the news in trading, and it's a very controversial topic. Some people say to don't trade the news. Some people say they love to trade the news. A lot of prop firms like FTMO and stuff, they won't allow you to trade news events. So, it's got to really make you ask yourself, what's going on with the news and how do I get involved? Should I get involved? Whatever the case may be. The thing is, you want to be familiar with everything. So let me give you my take on the news and how we approach it here on the dark side. I mean, regardless of what the news events are, there's one thing that's for sure. If price was heading in that direction, it was going in that direction long before the news announcement came out. The way it works is, if you were in a position and maybe price is consolidating and it breaks out to the upside, and let's say you get into this position right here. And you've got a news event as price is kind of consolidating here, but you've built your story, you know where price is heading, and there's a news announcement at this time. You shouldn't have any worries on whether price is going to just all of a sudden change and come get your stop or whatever the case may be, because the news doesn't necessarily change direction. It doesn't change trend, in my opinion. All it does is speed up the process. Okay, so if you're on the right side of the market, you have nothing to worry about. And that goes for every aspect of trading, whether it's your entry, whether it's your stop loss, if you're on the right side of the market, you're good. Your entry, criteria will always work when you're on the right side of the market. Your outlook on the news will always work when you're on the right side of the market. And the right side of the market is all about chasing the money and going where the money is. So what might take, let's just say this, we're looking at EU. What might take EU maybe, a week to hit our take profit, you know what I mean? When the news hits, it might take EU 5 minutes to hit our take profit. But regardless, price was coming for that area anyway. Okay, that's the thing to take away about the news. Now, when you're looking to build that bias on the news, and we're going to talk about the dollar because NFP is coming up, and the U.S. dollar is one of the main drivers in the Forex market, as we all know. But what you want to do is you want to try to get a feel for what the dollar is going to do. And that's going to help you understand what USD CAD is going to do, what USD Swiss franc is going to do, what UJ is going to do, what pound dollar, EU, what they're all going to do, because we know that dollar is going to have a major impact on them. So the first thing we see in the dollar, okay, after this long consolidation period, we can see that we've got relative equal highs, okay? They're not perfectly equal, but what you want to remember is they don't have to be, okay? They don't necessarily have to be equal highs or not. What we do see is we see space and opportunity. Okay, we'll go down to the weekly time frame real quick. And here's a very simple for you order block guys and balance traders, whatever. You can see there's a clear imbalance here on the weekly time frame. There's also a weekly order block that you can see right here. That was the this green candle, this buy before the sell-off. So that's already starting to build our bias on a bullish dollar. Okay, we can just sell that because we've got relative equal highs and we've got a target in place. So now that we've kind of got an idea of that the dollar potentially could move to the upside, based off the news announcements or any upcoming interest rate decisions, so on and so forth. We'll look at other dollar pairs and see if they have a similar. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, because obviously the counter pair, the pound or the euro, they have their own influence on GU and EU. But if we can see that the dollar looks like it wants to go up, then we should probably see pairs like USD CAD, okay, or USD Swiss franc. They should look like they want to go up too. Okay, and that's because we're anticipating the dollar seeing upside. So we'll take a look at them now. Let's just go on the watch list real quick. Okay, and we'll take a look at USD CAD. Okay. Now again, we're not trying to build any bias in stone. Your bias needs to be able to change as often as it needs to. But something that you can't deny on USD CAD is that you're seeing relative equal highs as well. Okay, you're seeing relative equal highs, which is fitting in line with our idea of the dollar moving to the upside in the near future. Okay, so we can see, and if you look closely, you can see that the liquidity was certainly collected. These sellers, this liquidity was certainly collected right here, and then this liquidity looks to be collected right here. So it looks like they've cleaned out all this here, and there is room for the upside. I mean, there's no reason why not, and the dollar is supporting it. Okay, CAD just recently had an interest rate decision which affected the market, and you could have had a good idea on that too by looking at most CAD pairs and just kind of seeing what looks like it's likely to happen. You don't need any proof of anything. Some people like to look up the reports and all this other and do all this homework on the interest rates and bond yields and auction notes. I don't necessarily do that. We do have people that do that, and I'm sure that works for them. But I like to look at what I see, and I like to go off of what I see, and that's the way that I approach the market when it comes to news. So again, I'm seeing relative equal highs for USD CAD, which means that we should possibly see an upside for the dollar, which actually goes along with what we said for the dollar. We were anticipating upside. So now you have your little notebook, you're writing down, okay, you're saying I got the dollar, looks long. I've got UCAD, looks long. What's USD Swiss franc looking like? And we'll take a look at USD Swiss franc. And again, it doesn't really take long. We're not looking for any exact price action. We're just kind of looking for the gist of it, for a gut feeling. For if somebody said, for $1 million, which way do you think price is going to go? You would kind of look at it and you say, all right, well, I'm looking on this pair and I can see that it's got relative equal highs here, but I'm seeing it's also got relative equal lows just below here. So you got to say, all right, well, USD Swiss franc is not really giving me any tremendous insight. It does make sense for price to potentially go up, and that's because we know that there's sellers in the market, and we know that because price increased here, break of structure to the downside, consolidation. So we know that if the sellers did enter the market anywhere in here, we know that their stop losses are sitting right above here. Okay, so that kind of helps build our bias and strengthen our confidence in dollar long, because if the seller's money was sitting up here, that would mean the dollar would go up to collect and stop their catch their stop losses, and ultimately their stop losses. So that's kind of helped persuading us towards a long dollar. That's supporting what we saw on the Dixie, okay, and that's supporting what we saw on USD CAD with those relative equal highs right here. And now we're kind of seeing the same story on USD Swiss franc, where we're seeing almost a trend line coming in here. We're seeing relative equal highs. In other words, we're seeing money to the upside. So that's kind of giving us that idea of long on the dollar as well. We'll take a look at UJ now, USD Japanese yen. And again, we're just kind of looking for something that's going to give us a subtle hint into which way price is going. We're not looking to just trade based off of this. We're trying to get an idea of where the dollar might get driven to through NFP, through interest rate decisions, through retail sales, CPI reports, anything like that, consumer price index, anything that's going to drive the dollar. This is how you build your news bias. Okay, and when we look at UJ, we see relative equal highs right here. Okay, this doesn't mean that price has to immediately attack this liquidity, but the thing is, as you start looking at multiple things and you see the dollar is looking like it might go long, you're seeing UCAD looks like it might go long, you're seeing UCHIEF is a little bit, it's a little consolidated, but there is money to the upside. Like we said, remember when we talked about this here, there's certainly money up into the upside here. So that's starting to build your bias. So now when you look at UJ and you're saying, all right, well, how's UJ look? And you marking it down, you're going to say long or short. You're going to say, okay, maybe long, because it makes sense for them to take out the money that's here. So this is how you slowly start to build a bias on what the news is going to do and where it's going to send price. Okay, so now we're going to look at the counter pairs. Okay, we're going to look at GU, EU, for example. And for the guys that don't know, when the dollar is pushing up, that means GU and EU would be pushing down, because the dollar is now stronger than the pound, pushing the pound down, okay, or pushing the euro down as the dollar increases in value. So we'll take a quick look at GU. And when we look at GU, again, we're not looking for any order blocks and balances, Fibonacci level, trend line. We don't care about none of that stuff. We're looking at where the money is, okay? And when we look here, we can see that there's some relative equal lows, okay? And we can see that right here. All right, now, is there going to be buyers in the market? Absolutely, because you can see the lower low, lower high, break of structure to the upside, consolidation. So they're seeing the break of structure right here, and they're looking to buy the market right in here. That's fine if that's the way you trade. But what you have to understand is that there's an interest rate, NFP report coming up, and there's potential for a volatile move in the market. So what you want to do is say, where might price end up? You don't need to know for a fact, but you need to have an idea because this can avoid you taking losses and also put you on the right side of the market in case you want to gamble on the report. All right, so what I would do is I would look and I'd say, all right, well, there's a relative equal lows. It would make sense for price to come and take these out, collect this money that's down here. So then when you go back to your list, you've got dollar long, okay, you've got USD CAD long, you've got USD Swiss franc long, even though it's a little consolidated. We definitely had UJ long, okay, and now it's looking like we have GU short because there's nothing telling us that GU needs to go to the upside right now. I know we have this little break of structure here and all this going on, that's fine, but there's nothing else besides that that's telling us that GU must rise in price right now. Okay, so that's why it's going to help our bias again strengthen that the dollar might be long in the long term here. Okay, and especially for the news announcement. All right. Now, when I'm going to take a look at EU, again, it's the same thing. EU, the euro should be looking like it wants to go down if the dollar is certainly going to increase. All right, so we'll look at EU. And EU, we're seeing a very similar situation. Okay, we've got we've got no reason to buy the euro right now. There is no reason. Some people like to try to catch it from the bottom. I've never understood that. That's gambling. 100%. But even if you were going to try to just buy it when it hits this resistance or support or whatever, order block, whatever you want to call it, it still has to come down here. This is daily time frame and it's not there yet. It still has to come down here. So what that's doing is that's telling us that there's a good chance the euro is going to continue to decrease against the dollar, which means the dollar would be increasing. Okay, so that's just strengthening our bias because remember we said dollar long, UJ long, UCAD long, USD Swiss franc. We weren't really sure, but we think long. Okay, we're starting. It just gets stronger. GU looked like it was continued downside, and EU should just be added support to that because this is a falling knife right now. EU is just melting, but you have absolutely no reason to buy this pair. You can see where they trap smart money guys. They already got them. Took them out right here with this little order block play, this imbalance play where they gave them a little hope and it made it look like it was going to react. You could see the fake reaction to the upside, and then it just melted and took them out anyway. So you can tell that there's really no reason to buy the euro right now. And instead of that being, well, the euro's dead, to me, it's a waste of time. What it's essentially going to do is it's going to strengthen your bias on the dollar being long because dollar long means euro USD down. So again, this is how you build your case on the dollar, okay? And this is how you anticipate a news event, and this could be, if this was for Canada, for example, we would look up UCAD, maybe CAD-J, maybe CAD Swiss franc, pound CAD, and we would say, okay, what are those, when we look at them, just from a distance, what do they look like they're going to do? Where's the money at? And that's how you would build a bias. Another good tip for trading these events is go back, look at your favorite pairs. If you like to trade USD pairs, go back and look at the last 10 NFP reports and look at which pairs reacted the most. Maybe EU has the biggest reaction, but USD Swiss franc just kind of consolidates, maybe spikes a bit, and that's it. Everybody blames their brokers for stop hunts, but that's not what it is. Brokers have nothing to do with that, okay? This is all pre-orchestrated moves by the composite operator anyway. Your broker has nothing to do with that, so stop blaming them. But this might be the Swiss franc, USD Swiss franc NFP result, and in the meantime, this is the Euro USD result. Maybe this is the UJ result. Big move. So if you are going to gamble, and try to trade the news or try to build a bias and get involved with the news, you'll say, all right, well, I'm going to go with Euro USD because it moves a lot more. The last 5 reports on USD Swiss franc, I didn't really have any volatility. It's a waste of time. If I'm going to focus, I'm going to focus on one of them, and obviously it's going to be the one with the most volatility as I can try to make the most reward for my trade. So that's a really good way, guys, to just build a bias on the news, and again, it doesn't matter if it's retail sales, any of these things. If it's it could be a speech, Powell could make a speech and it's the same thing. Even if it's on low time frame, you want to just go and look for where the money is and realize that the news is going to head where the money is because price was heading there anyway. They can disguise it with whatever they want and call it the interest rate decision or whatnot. But listen, if we can anticipate where price is going to go, if price looks like it's going to go down, and then it continues to go down, it was not because of the news announcement that took place here. The whole downside was orchestrated way up in here by the composite operator. If you're a wick off trader, you could probably find a distribution right down in here. You could probably find, a redistribution that took place right here where price consolidated and continued down. And these were done long before the news events. This might have been 2 weeks ago, and the news may have came out now, but the move had already started. And it was way up here, So that's why I feel like a lot of times the market predicts the news. The news doesn't predict the market, So I hope these things help you guys out a little bit. Again, all the answers to your questions, you just got to look left, even when it comes to news reports. If you have nothing to do this weekend, go back test the last 10 NFPs, go back test the last 10 USD interest rate decisions, and, keep them in your journal because every month there's going to be another news event. And every month you're going to be more and more prepared, you're going to be more familiar, and most of all, you're going to be more confident in your approach to the market on whether you should hold your position, close your position, or whatever it is that you want to do. At least you'll know what's going on and you won't be gambling like 99% of traders out there. So again, the way we feel about it, if I'm in a position and the news hits, I honestly can care less. I mean, of course, I'd maybe move my stop to break even if it was near it, only to avoid any crazy spikes. But my opinion is if I catch the move where I want to catch it down in here, I'm not worried about the news because I know it's just going to speed it up in my direction anyway. And I know that's because I'm on the correct side of the market. So again, guys, try to apply this to your trading. Really think about what I'm saying here. And again, don't take my word for it. Just look left. Just look to the left. Everything that you want to know is to the left. And I really hope this helps you guys out. All the best with the news tomorrow, and we'll catch up with you soon. Appreciate it. Thanks.